a major line was crossed. Tucker Carlson interviewed Fuentes on his show. The 2-hour conversation has racked up 16 million views on X. Now, many conservatives are furious that Carlson would interview Fuentes in the first place and have called for denunciations, not just of Fuentes, but also of Tucker Carlson for platforming him.
Says that if there is a MAGA civil war, meaning ending foreign wars and the ability to question foreign intervention, he's ready for it. He says that if the neocon Republicans do not hear this generation's demand to end foreign interference, the next generation is going to burn down the old house and build a new one, and I love it. Over the weekend, those battle lines were drawn at the Republican Jewish Convention. Lindsey Graham, Mark Levine, they all took to the stage and declared that the Republican Party stands with Israel. Anyone who does not feel that way will be thrown out on their butts of the GOP, like Tucker Carlson.
Controversy rages on after Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, and the Heritage Foundation's president came out in defense of Tucker and said, "Don't cancel Nick Fuentes." Now, there's a bunch of conservatives who are outraged over the appearance of Nick Fuentes in many more mainstream appearances because they have done everything in their power to marginalize and shut him out, as they do not like his opinions or the things he said in the past in general. My friends, is this what will destroy the rights coalition? Is this what will rout us and divide us before we have a chance to stomp out the woke left cult? Perhaps.
Welcome back to Random Sound Mind. I'm your host, JT. Here we are, episode 5. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about this MAGA Civil War. Now, you may have heard about some of these things in the media, and the intro video that I showed you gave you some clips from different personalities talking about this recent event. Now, if you're going, well, we've had these before, you're not wrong. Most of them have been created by the mainstream media to try to cause division. I think the only legitimate one perhaps was the one with Elon Musk coming out, but that's all water under the bridge because he made up with Trump and took back some of the things he said. However, this one, there is some legitimacy to this, and I do not think this is going to go away. And is it a civil war? I don't know, but it's darn near close considering who's on the different sides of this argument. So what is the Civil War about this time? This time it is about America and its involvement, alignment, support for the ethno-nation state of Israel. You've got some people on that side that would be very famous that you might have heard of, like Mark Levine, Josh Hammer, Dinesh D'Souza, Laura Loomer, who's a War Room correspondent, Officer Brandon Taden, and some others. On the other side, if I can say it like that, who are for America to decouple, to de-entangle with the nation state of Israel, and to look out for our own interests. And those would be people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Dave Smith, Steve Bannon, and Candace Owens. Who else? There's others, but you've heard of those, no doubt. And then you've got people like the Young Turks, which neither side of this Civil War I'm talking about really take apart, but I am going to show clips from them because they are agreeing with conservatives, which they normally don't do. Then you've got probably people in the middle or maybe ambivalent, like a Tim Pool. Both sides claim to be America first. Both of them also claim to be true MAGA. That's what makes this Civil War very interesting. So why is it interesting? Well, let me give 3 reasons why I feel it's interesting. First, we are having an open debate on the right side about this issue and about the state of Israel and our involvement with them. The other side, the Democrats, they never have anything open. It's locked up. You go along or you get booted or you face getting jerked off a committee in the Congress. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is well known for her control over her people. I also find it interesting for the fact that some of the people have started to make some serious ad hominem and personal attacks, the name calling against people on the other side, that they would be united against all things Democrat and Obama, Biden, and all that stuff. And another reason, I guess, that I find this interesting is that Israel, the nation state, the ethno-nation state of Israel, has always been a source of contention, always, on the right and the left. I have some work to do in that regard, but I have definitely changed my tune on how I feel about them and America, how we should be involved or not involved. So I'm going to get to that in the next episode, most likely. So without further ado, I'm going to start showing some clips and give you an idea of some of the rhetoric that's been going around.
Multiple speakers have talked about the rise of anti-Semitism on the right. But it is not enough to speak in platitudes or generalities about the fight. We must call evil by its name.
Call evil by its name. Wow, that seems pretty intense. Let's see who he's talking about or what he's talking about.
5 years ago, if I was talking to my father, who's watching, hi Dad, if I was talking to my father at 8:59 p.m. at night, he would say, Randy, I gotta go. Tucker Carlson's gonna be on. But make no mistake, today, Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America.
Wow. Didn't see that coming. Most dangerous anti-Semite in America. Does that seem like hyperbole? Okay.
He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions.
Okay. So Tucker is pro-death of Israel. Got it. Pro-genocide. That's some name calling there. That's some heavy accusations. So let's continue.
Friends, make no mistake. Tucker is not MAGA.
He's telling you Tucker, who was at all the rallies, UFC fights with Trump, he's not MAGA. This is the famous Mark Levin. He has shows on Fox, I think 2, if I'm not mistaken, Saturday night, Sunday night. Author of several books. He's a constitutional attorney expert, or I should say constitutional law expert, and very well known in right-wing circles. So let's hear what he has to say at the Republican Jewish Coalition Conference.
You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect.
People who
disagree. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact.
Wow. So you shouldn't be friends with people like this, who I mentioned are on the other side, the Tuckers, the Steve Bannons, MTGs, but that's pretty extreme. Let's continue, see what else he has to say.
You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism.
A lot of names there you're throwing out there, Mark. A lot of name calling. I said that was one of the interesting things about this Civil War, is how names are being thrown around. And I don't know if you've heard that phrase. I did. That when you start doing name calling, it's called ad hominem, which is just simply to the man. Personal attacks, you've already lost.
We're surrounded by cowards who have microphones, who have TV cameras, of websites, of columns, cowards. It's spelled Carlson.
Carlson.
It's spelled Fuentes.
Fuentes.
It's spelled Owens. It's spelled
Owens.
Bannon.
Bannon.
It's spelled Marjorie Trader Green. You can figure that out yourself.
To see the man himself, Nick Fuentes, on Tucker's podcast, which has caused all this hubbub and civil war. And this is from the Young Turks, and the woman's name is Anna Kasparian, who you'll see comment on what he's about to say. So let's hear from this notorious man, Nick, and you can see what you think.
Barack Obama, in the lame duck period, so the Democrats lost the election, he's on his way out. There's a resolution of the Security Council condemning the settlements in the West Bank in Israel. And typically, the U.S. delegation will veto those resolutions condemning Israel. Well, Obama's on his way out. He's got nothing to lose. So the U.S. delegation abstains from the resolution, and it passes. And Fox News and all the pro-Israel conservatives are calling him an anti-Semite. They're saying he hates Jews. He's an anti-Semite. He hates Israel. I said, how is it anti-Semitic to just be consistent on our U.S. foreign policy? I tweeted about it. I tweeted to Ben Shapiro.
That's not an illegitimate question. I'm going to talk about at the end of today about questions in general, but that's not an illegitimate question. Let's keep going.
I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel.
Daily Wire, if you don't know, is Ben Shapiro. He's the main personality on Daily Wire, has been for years.
And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know. I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
First of all, dual loyalty exists. I said it. It exists. There are Americans in this country right now, self-identified American Jews, who seem to be far more concerned with the well-being of a foreign country, and that foreign country is Israel, as opposed to the well-being of this country. Ben Shapiro is a fiscal conservative who's very concerned about our entitlement programs like Social Security, programs that we pay into as Americans, so we can maybe one day retire and not be destitute. He thinks that we spend too much money on that program and healthcare and all that. But when it comes to bribing Egypt to play nice with Israel, money well spent. $4 billion a year to Israel, money well spent. $30 billion since October 7th to help Israel commit its atrocities in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, money well spent.
I was laughing because of her little mannerisms right there. I find that kind of stuff funny, but the issue is not funny. So she's laying out some serious facts here, and she's no friend of Ben Shapiro. She's no friend of Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson either. So she's kind of, that's why it's an interesting, because she's weighing in on this. I'm one of the Americans that cannot stand the way our money is being wasted, and that includes giving it away to foreign countries of all kinds, and including Israel. Okay, here's our next clip. This is of America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, on a show that I really like. Although this particular take is interesting. So let's hear what he has to say on this. And he's being interviewed by Rob Finnerty, who's on Newsmax. It's a great show, but let's see what he has to say.
Terrible mistake. And in the case of Tucker, it's not accidental. He's been doing this now for about a year. I like Tucker very, very much. Consider him a friend, admire him. But I find the things that he's done over the last year to be odd. Would be much too weak a word. Imagine.
That's fair. Odd. I can say that about some of Tucker's interviews as well. Odd. But He has the right to interview whoever he wants.
Imagine saying that he hates Governor Huckabee and Lindsey Graham because they support Israel? Or
I listened to the entire Fuentes Carlson interview, and Tucker talks about having no hate in his heart, so I don't know where he's getting that.
how about the interview? The interview was pathetic. He might as well have had Fuentes sitting on his lap and patting him on the head, the way he did with Putin.
I listened to the entire interview. There was a lot of disagreement, but friendly. And Tucker did push back and did challenge him. And not just on politics. He actually challenged him on his views on women and relationships. Here's our next clip. This is from the aforementioned Steve Bannon, who was listed by Mark Levine. And we'll see what... this is interesting to me as well, because Laura Loomer, who would be on the side of Levine in this regard, is a correspondent for said Steve Bannon on his podcast, The War Room. And he usually doesn't kick it up, or they usually don't argue with correspondents, but let's see how this goes.
I think that we need to have a real conversation, Steve, in the GOP, and hopefully, amid all this Israel derangement syndrome that we're seeing from many people on the right, you don't see these people ever talk about Islam. You don't ever see these people talk about the threat of Islam, Steve. And they got to stop being so obsessed with Israel and so obsessed with the Jews. It's not the Israelis that are going to have another 9/11 here in our country.
No. Hang on. If the Israeli government had dealt straight with us, you wouldn't have had this problem. They're liars. They've been stone cold liars. They gave bad information, so I'm not going to let that go unchallenged.
All right, so what he's talking about, and I've heard him talk about this, is the information on Iran's nuclear capabilities being ready sooner than they were, which may have influenced Trump to go bomb Iran, as we know he did successfully, and take out the nuclear proliferation abilities. But were we given the real truth is what Bannon is saying. It's saying, no, we weren't. And the consequence of getting bad information and bombing Iran is it kicks off World War III.
Netanyahu's government has been atrocious, and we should have regime change in Jerusalem, and we should have it immediately. They've lied to the American government. They've lied to the American people consistently. You say Israeli derangement syndrome. It's not Israeli derangement syndrome. I certainly don't have it. What I have is the Greater Israel Project that was never done, and no due diligence was done. The American people never signed off that. The Trump administration never signed off on that. That's a Netanyahu. We need regime change in Jerusalem, and we need it tonight.
Bannon would be, if someone would say who are some of the architects of MAGA, since this is about the Civil War MAGA, it would be Stephen K. Bannon, would definitely be one of them. He is there. To me, there's no question he's America first.
Here's Steve Bannon, of all people on planet Earth, going, wait, when did we promise you an empire that we had to pay for? So the fact that he's telling his audience that and basically shutting Laura Loomer up is a beautiful thing.
So those are all the clips for today. This is essentially part one of the MAGA Civil War, but I wanted to end on this idea of asking questions. A couple of things that I think about, hopefully you will think about as well. If you don't ask questions, you're never ever going to get the answer. Second thing, if you ask the wrong questions, you're going to get the wrong answers. And another one is that asking questions is part of free speech. If someone says you shouldn't ask questions, red flags should be flying up for you. That's what cults and certain religions say you can't ask questions. That's certain groups in this country, you can't ask that question. And obviously I'm talking about appropriate legal questions. I'm not talking about, hey, can you tell me where to buy cocaine? I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So with that in mind, I wanted to prime your mind into asking questions of yourself about this MAGA Civil War. And I would say some would be on both sides. Where does the money come from that pays you? Who are your supporters? What have you said in the past about Israel, about America? What have you said in the past about MAGA and Trump and those who support him? Are you a flip-flopper, or have you been always on his side? In other words, political expediency. Others would be, which I'm definitely going to do an episode sometime on, is what about my religious beliefs as a Christian? Does that affect or sway me either way on this idea of America, alignment, support with the nation of Israel? Others would be, has Israel always been our best ally? That's a very fair question. Has Bibi Netanyahu ever lied? So those are some questions. You may have plenty. I just encourage you to ask questions, seek the truth. Don't get caught up in personalities or theatrics. So, as I always say, until next time, stay alert, stand firm, show courage, and be sound.